Now, what are all the technologies that are used by this cloud-based systems? So as I said, in cloud, we have basically three components. You have client, and then you have server. Okay, so client is what you can see it by your eyes. Okay, it might be a web client or it can be a mobile client, something like that. And then server, you don't know where the server is running. You just know its IP address. Okay, so in which IP address the server is running. That is all you know. Apart from that, what technology is used on this server side, or what database is used, what is the user ID password. So none of the things you know. So you don't know what is happening in the server at all. You just know the address of that server. That's it. Okay, so basically you have two components, and within the server, if you take, you have two things. You call it as application server and database server. So database server basically helps us to retrieve the data that is stored in the database, and application server will connect to the database, and it will take the data according to the type of request the client is sending, and then it will retrieve the response. So that is how the cloud-based systems work. So the cloud-based system basically uses HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So this HTTP gives the list of it gives a list of rules how you should send a request, how you should receive a response. So all these things are governed by the HTTP. Okay, HTTP rules. So what happens when you hit gmail.com, a HTTP request is sent to the server. The server will retrieve will give back a HTTP response. So what are all the technologies that are used? Okay, so the first thing is front end technology. So front end is what we call it as a client. Okay, so front end is basically two things, the first one and the last one. So the first one you see front end dev, and the last one you see mobile app dev. So both can be called as clients. So few people, they go and access gmail.com in the browser. Few people, they go to Play Store and install gmail.com and they use that. So those are like two different technologies or two different streams that are needed. So you have in the front end, basically you use technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, so these are the three technologies that a browser can understand. So what you see something called as SPA, that is called as single page applications. That is like the latest variation of front end application that we are using. So in SPAs, you have like some frameworks called as Angular, React, and that uses TypeScript. Okay, so basically in the front end, you have three technologies: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then there are like a couple of more technologies with which you write scalable code or maintainable code according to industry standards. And that also gets converted into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that is on the front end. And then when you take mobile app client, as you know, you'll have an iOS app or an Android app or a Windows app, something like that, right? So for a Windows app, you go to the Play Store and you download that. And then for Android app, you go to Android Play Store and you download that. And then for iOS, you go to iOS Play Store and you download the application that is compatible with iOS. So for that, what you need like technologies to build an application which works on iOS, and a technology which works on Android, like that. So for that, uh, we use like we use technology for Android. For Android we use Java, and then for iOS you use Swift programming, and then there is something called as React Native, Ionic, like that. Okay, so I'll come back to that later. And then so we have covered the client now, and then we have to go to the server. Okay, so in the server, you have to write an application server and a database server. For application server, there are like different technologies that can be used. So it was like PHP that was very famous for a long time. So when you take web application, previously by default people will be using PHP. Okay, so PHP, and you have after that Java became a favorite for a lot of developers. Parallelly, Python also evolved, and then there is a technology called Node.js, and then now more people are using Golang as well. Okay, so like in the backend, you have a lot of options for the range of technologies that you can use. In the front end, you don't have that much option. In the front end, you just have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But in the backend, you have a lot of options. Okay, And then you have database service. So in database you'll have like lot, the famous thing is Oracle. It was like it was used by lot of people over lot of years. Now there are like lot of options. So you have like MySQL, Postgres, and then SQLite, and then there is some other kind of database called as non-RDBMS. For example, we use MongoDB, Cassandra, like that. Okay, so that is one, one another tech stack. And then we have something called as DevOps. So DevOps is basically like what I gave you, what I told you about that $1 million sale. On a particular day the request will be huge, on the other days the request will be somewhat less. So you need some system to handle this scalability, right? So you need to handle the scalability separately. So for that, over last few years, there was a new field called DevOps as well. So in that DevOps, there are a lot of other things that you do. So you call it a CI/CD, like that, and then how it gets deployed to AWS or GCP or any other cloud platform. Even those things are taken care by the DevOps person. So the main role of the DevOps person will be to whatever code I do, it should be deployed onto my server in a scalable way. So when there is huge request or when there is less request, according to that, the resources should be used. So even that is a big field and it is an emerging field. So in that we have, they will be taking care of CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment, and then they will be working with AWS, GCP, or any other cloud service provider based technologies. So they would be working on Nginx, Ansible, Lambda functions, simple queuing service, like that. So these are basically like an array of technologies that are used in building any cloud-based systems. So when you see this, what we come to, what we see is JavaScript has a role in each and every role that is defined here. So that is what I wanted to say. So when you take front end, it is like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There is no other go. You have to use these three technologies. And when we take backend, we have like lot of options, but one of the options is called as Node.js, which is also a JavaScript, programming language. And then when it is database, you have MongoDB, which is like very compatible with this Node.js. Okay, so it is easy to store and retrieve data from MongoDB when you are using Node.js. And then when you use mobile app, you see something like React Native, Ionic, and all. These are all like JavaScript based. So when you learn JavaScript, what happens? You can go as a front end. Your role can be in the front end, it can be in the back end, it can be in the database, and it can be in the mobile app as well. So when we see this chart, you see like JavaScript is like most commonly used languages. This is because previously there were like few companies who were sticking to the legacy systems. Now even they are moving to the cloud. So when the legacy systems move to the cloud, what happens? You have to access them through a web client or a mobile client. So in both the web client and the mobile client, you can use JavaScript. So that is why you see like around 30.8 percentage people, they use JavaScript in either in either front end or in a web client or in a mobile client. In some way they use JavaScript. And then you see like Ruby is used, Python is used, like that. So when you take JavaScript, so what is this JavaScript all about? And where are the places we can use JavaScript? Okay, so JavaScript is basically a programming language, or you can say it as a scripting language. Okay, so the syntax is like quite similar to Java, but it is not entirely Java. Okay, so it is like even before JavaScript came, Java was there. So they took few motivations from Java, motivation to build this language from Java, and then Python, and then yeah, and C++, C as well. Okay, so this is not an entirely new language. So if you know the basics of other programming languages, you can learn JavaScript easily. But there is again some kind of learning curve that is with JavaScript as well. So here you can see JavaScript can be used in web applications. Okay, so use something called as vanilla JavaScript. And then in mobile application, we can use React Native and Ionic. And then to build games, we can use JavaScript. To build web servers. So web server is what I call it as an application server. So you have like a lot of options. There also you can use Node.js, which is a JavaScript based language. And then for reporting purposes, you can prepare reports using JavaScript libraries and frameworks. And then one more role that I didn't cover previously is test automation. So whenever that is a separate role in the software industry. When you see the software industry, you have like a lot of roles. You have marketing, you have sales, you have pre-sales, and then you do content writing, technical writing, and then you have like test automation as well, QA, quality analyst. So what they basically do is they test your application. So whenever we write some whenever we make some changes to our code, it should be tested properly before it is given to the client. So before it is given to our customer, it should be tested properly. So what we can't do is every time we cannot test the application manually, right? So we might tend to miss out some scenarios or some edge cases each time. So it is all like I test a few features this time. When next time some other feature is released, I will concentrate on testing only that particular feature, and I won't be finding enough time, or due to human negligence, you might miss out issues in the existing code. So in that case, we need to automate that test process as well. So that is what we call it as test automation. So for test automation, the famous thing that most people use is called Selenium. Okay, so they use Selenium with Java and Python. Now there is an alternative there as well called Cypress, which uses JavaScript. So when you see everywhere JavaScript is finding some or the other way, it gives you an option to use. Like if there is some tool that is built with JavaScript in one way or the other. So when we see JavaScript, the creator is Brendan H. It is not a new language. It's been there for almost 2+ decades. Okay, it should be at least 20+ years since JavaScript got released. But the growth of JavaScript is because of is basically because of cloud systems. So as more people were moving to cloud, and even now more people are moving to cloud. So if you see, due to the pandemic, so many people who were having the systems on premise, they are also thinking to move to cloud. So the main reason being, everyone wanted to adopt to a remote culture. Even though we cannot meet at a particular place and work, we can continue our work, right? So that is actually possible using these cloud based systems. So what people now think is, okay, we can also move to cloud. So they got the confidence now. So previously people were like fearing, because like we are storing the data outside our network, so someone else will come and read that data. There can be some data breach activities and so on. But every day the cloud security is also improving, so it is not that easy to break into a network and and to take the data. So it's because of these reason that more people are moving to cloud. As more people are moving to cloud, there is a demand for JavaScript. So it is an interpreted language, to give a idea. So you know, about when you take computers, you basically see two types of software: system software and application software. So system software is like our OS is a system software, right, which interacts with the hardware. So whatever we do it on the OS, it converts that, it interacts with the hardware, and it gives us the desired results. So likewise, whenever I write some program, it is in a human readable form. I write it in like an English like language. It is not English, it is an English like language. I write JavaScript in an English like language, but the machine cannot understand that, because it can understand only zeros and ones. So we need a software which actually takes my code as input, and it should give the machine readable it should give a machine readable code as output. So for that, we use two softwares, namely compiler and interpreter. So if you see in C, C++, Java, or C#, so all these languages, they use their own compilers. So in JavaScript, we use an interpreter. So here we don't need to install an interpreter separately. So here the browser acts as the interpreter. So when you load a JavaScript file, the browser will go through line by line and it will start executing the JavaScript code that we have written. And it is dynamically typed scripting language. So that means like in C or C++, when you see you say a variable is of a particular type, so throughout the program that variable will be of that type only. But in JavaScript it is a little bit uh, little bit flexible, so you can store any type of data in the same variable. So that is in two way. One way it is advantageous, another way it is tricky, you lose the track. So that is how JavaScript is actually. So it is easy as well as tough. So when you get more practice, it becomes more easy. And you have some the versioning in JavaScript. So we mentioned the versions using ECMAScript. So ECMAScript basically gives the standards and how JavaScript code should be written. So that is actually given by ECMAScript versioning. So when you take the versions of JavaScript, so you had something like ES5, ECMAScript version 5, which is supported by all the browsers. So from the year 2015, there is one version of JavaScript that is released every year. So in the year 2015, ES6 got released. In 2016, ES7 got released. 2018, ES sub 2016 ES7 got released. 2018 ES8 got released, like that. So every year, 2018 ES9 got released, and so on. Okay, so now in the year 2020, it is not ES11. Instead, they call it ES2020. So the only disadvantage with using the latest version of JavaScript is that some browsers may not support that. So you are using a Chrome or a Firefox browser. If those are all like latest browsers, they keep updating their software to provide the latest version of JavaScript. But if you go for some browsers like Safari or Edge or IE, they may not be releasing frequent upgrades. Okay, so they may not be supporting the latest versions of JavaScript. So still in the market, if you see, most of the people are just using ES5 and ES6. So ES6 came around, say, 5 years back. Still we are sticking to ES6 and ES5. And when you take JavaScript, so how does the programming language look like? I said like it is not an entirely new language. It is taken from C, C++, Java, and then Python, like that. So it is taken from different languages. So what happens? It has the flexibility of all the languages. So you can write object-oriented code like Java, or you can write functional programming like code like C as well. So you can write in both ways. So the flexibility is there with us. Mostly we go for object-oriented programming these days, but you have the flexibility to do functional programming as well. So now we'll concentrate it on the client alone, the front end part. So in the client, we talked about like a web client. So in the web client, if you see, the web client is basically like you go to the browser and you log into that application and you start using that application straight away. So what are the technologies that is needed in that web client? So we have like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So these are the three technologies that a browser can understand. Apart from that, it can understand XML. Okay, so HTML is basically like, it is like a skeleton. So when you take a skeleton, it is just the structure alone. Okay, so you write some tags. So HTML is basically hypertext markup language, right? So it has some markup, HTML/HTML, head and body. Within that body, you have some kind of tags and so on. Okay, so all those. So what you are basically doing is you are converting that your content. Someone is giving you some content. So you take the content and you convert that into a structure in a structured way using HTML. After that, that will be a raw text that will be like white and black, which is very boring. So you have to beautify that. Some applications, their features will be very less, but if you see, so many people will like to use that application. The most simple example is WhatsApp. If you see in WhatsApp, the UI is very simple. So many people are using WhatsApp. There was something called as Viber and a few other things as well. Not many people are using that. People are preferring to use WhatsApp. And even if you take in Facebook, there is a messenger. Not many people are using that messenger. They, for chat, they again come to WhatsApp and they do the chat, right? So that is the simplicity, or that is the elegance that WhatsApp brings. So similarly, you need to beautify your web page, how it looks. So that is basically CSS, presentation. And then you have JavaScript, which is basically the behavioral layer. So when you click a button, what should happen? When you type in the form fields and click on submit, what should happen? So that is what you call it as behavior. When I log in, what should happen? So those things are what we call it as behaviors. So for that we need JavaScript. So if you are a web designer, you just need to know HTML and CSS. That is enough. So to build a static web page using, for example, for a hotel or for school or for some training center, you just need to know HTML and CSS. You can build a very good web page. But you want to build a web application that, so there is something to do with the behavior. So you need to know JavaScript. So I'll quickly go to the job opportunities that we have. So the various roles, as I show in the chart, you have like front-end developer role. Okay, the front-end developer, we basically use technologies like JS, jQuery, Angular, React, and Vue. Now if you see in the market, Angular and React are used by so many people. So what is this Angular and React? These are all called as frameworks, so with which you write a structured code, and that structured code gets converted into JavaScript. Okay, so Angular is given to us by Google and React is given to us by Facebook. So they are all open source. You just take their code base, write your code and convert it into JavaScript, and you deploy it in your server. And then backend developer. So in the backend developer, we had like a lot of options. So people are using Node.js there. Okay, with more thing coming like AWS Lambdas and a few other marketplaces which supports this JavaScript, more people are now using Node.js as well. So Node.js has a good backing from Google as well. Okay, so you can see that each tech giant is coming up, is backing up some technology. So that means it gets more prominence over a few days. And then QA engineer. So as a QA engineer, if you learn JavaScript and you learn Cypress, there is an opportunity for you as well as a QA engineer. And then there is a framework called Protractor, which is used for end-to-end testing. Okay, so for end-to-end testing, we use Protractor, which is also a JavaScript-based framework. And then if you want to become a mobile app developer, then you can learn React Native and Ionic, which is JavaScript. I mean, like if you know JavaScript, you can pick up any stream. So you are not confined to only front-end development or only back-end development, only mobile app development like that. So JavaScript is the base for everything. So, and then a full stack developer is basically like who does all the above things. So they will do the front end, they'll do the back end, they do the database, QA engineering, and then in some companies they do mobile app development as well, and in some companies they do the DevOps stuff as well. So these are like yeah, I would say a subset of, or this is a list, but it is not limited to this alone. So you have like various other places where JavaScript can be used. So yeah, I think I am done with that.